Do you have any takes on the rest of the LCS playoffs before we dive into some of the, because we had a long conversation last week. 4 out of the 5 games were incredibly sloppy in the Liquid C9 series. It did not fill me with confidence. But then that last game was really well played from the level 1 on C9, if you recall. I don't know if you remember specifically those games. But did you have any takeaways? What's the level of hope that NA should be expecting right now? Because I will say that the big boon to NA was the announcement that the Vietnamese team will not be competing, because that was a real, I have to say, you never know. And that was probably the biggest chance of NA not being top 4, right? And that is now, that obstacle has been removed. And for you guys who don't know, the Vietnamese teams, the VCS, unfortunately couldn't get visas to go to Iceland during the pandemic. So Riot has said that they will be competing with one fewer team, which also makes it easier for the CIS region team to make it out of groups.
I mean, I think Cloud9 was clearly the best team, right? Like, I remember I said it somewhere as well, but it's just because they have Perkz. I think the other players, yeah, they're good. Then they're better than the other players in NA right now. I feel like at least for C9, they have the best players in every role and the best team as well. And that's only because I think some of the players in TL are just playing really badly right now. Basically, I would say like, TL just played like a full native roster. It doesn't matter. They just play really bad. But C9 as well, like in the series, I think they kind of choked a bit or made bad calls or were playing too aggressively. But I was actually quite impressed the way they play with Perkz. I was also more impressed, like with Perkz himself. Like the other players, they were inconsistent. Yeah.
I think that's a fair take. To go back, do you think you say they're best in role? So you would say that Fudge has been performing better than Alphari, because it was really Alphari that was the standout player of Liquid throughout the season in the playoffs, and people expected that to be potentially the way the Team Liquid won the series, and he did have some good games.
No, Alphari just played like he never seen, or he never played jungle before, in solo queue. Like, there's no way you can get ganked. It's impossible to get ganked. It's impossible. Like if you go to a Chinese team and you die like this in scrims, you're gonna get a flame for sure.
That's true.
That's one thing I didn't understand entirely. Everyone tried to make it like, well, it's obvious, if you see 9, you would just attack Alphari over and over again. Look what he did to TSM. But the part I don't get is what Nelson's saying is, why did Alphari not get that memo? That's the part I don't get. I totally get why C9 would try and play that way. I would try and play that way as well. If I'm TL, by the way, I would also be cognizant of that. There'd be certain games where I would just tell Alphari, just play extra safe now.
I think it's tricky because they were running with a sub jungler who may not have been able to execute like an Alphari focused game plan. But I do agree that if you're in that situation, that it's Alphari's responsibility to play a little bit more conservative.
Dude, it's the longest lane. You already get ganked in when your jungler is there. Like, it's the hardest to fucking not get ganked in, isn't it?
I mean, I think the game is not as hard as people think, Like for example, if I tell you, what if you can memorize the timers of all 6 of the enemy camps?
Holy shit.
Is it easy for you to find out where a jungler is? Of course it is. Like, every jungler I coach could do that, and I coach some not very good junglers in LPL as well.
Do you have the secret of this forbidden knowledge, Nelson, about jungle timers?
Yeah, I mean, you just remember, it's 2 minutes. like the moment the enemy jungler shows on the map, you need to know what's his exact path, whichever camp, which order, and because you play more solo queue there, you should know what's the clear time for each jungler. What's the fastest possible clear time for each jungler?
Oh, by the way, Monty, because obviously we'll get into this when we talk specifically about the matches. I also saw, just as an update for people if they don't know, because he still does this, right? I saw a highlight clip where Doinby goes in, he kills someone under the tower on Akali, and then he flies back out. And while he's doing it, he's typing the timers and pressing enter.
Yeah, it's amazing.
He's still doing that shit, by the way. Like, this is where I told people, like I said in the intro before, right? People have got to stop pretending like all he does is just not play mid lane and then walk somewhere. No, what you guys are missing out in your yada 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 and they win worlds is the entire thing. Like, just leaving the mid lane is not the guy's. It's his understanding of the game. Basically, like, I found actually, I sadly, when I tried to do that distinction like a few months ago, like players who know how to win and players who know how to play the game. No, the real difference is this: there's players who know how to play their lane and there's players who know how to play the map. And if you know how to play the map like Doinby does, Why would you stick around in your lane and just get 4 CS more if you could do something way more impactful? Because no, like the idea that like he does that, it's the same back in the day when LS pointed out that people like Faker use all their function keys to see all the lanes all the time, like a jungler, right? Every Westerner goes, yeah, anyone could do that, and then Gelman amnesia wipes himself and just doesn't ever do it for the next 6 years. Like what? Like, dude, and any of you Westerners who want to go, Korean solo queue and so doesn't take Korean solo queue to type timers in. So how about you start doing that if you're the mid lane and you're a shot caller, and then get back to me in 6 months and we'll see how you're doing. Because in theory, these should be basic things. You just have to do it.
So here's what I've noticed coming from an RTS background and then coming into a MOBA in League of Legends, is that the difference, one of the core differences between RTS players and MOBA players is that any RTS player will be spamming hotkeys at the beginning of a game. So you're sitting there in StarCraft or in Warcraft, and you're starting your initial build, and you're setting all your hotkeys. All players who are serious about the game will be like moving their hand constantly to warm up their hand and to get into a rhythm of speed in order to hit hotkeys. So these hotkeys are not doing anything at the end of the game. Often you're just like hitting 1 2 1 2, 1 5 1 5 to like in between unit control groups and buildings. But the point is that you want to maintain that consistency throughout the game so that later in the game, when you're macroing and microing at the same time, you're still going at the same speed. What I have noticed about even professional MOBA players is that the majority of them do not have this same approach. They are sitting there taking a drink of water as they're walking back from base.
Dude,
right?
I'm not even trolling. I'll give you an exact example that'll blow your mind. Right, one of the greatest Western players of all time, inarguably, is Meteos. I've watched him play, mate. No joke, he could play with one hand. Like, except when you have to obviously press the abilities. Like as in, he's literally, he's moving the screen with the mouse and then clicking where he wants to walk to. Like, people already, by the way, are watching this VOD now who are morons going, what are they even talking about? Because again, you don't get it, guys. Like, we're talking about basic things. That's how far the Westerners are behind.
Yeah.